Thursday evening, after 2 decades of marriage, my 41-year-old wife, Damaris, the beautiful mother of our 2 daughters and the woman I had dedicated my life to, dropped the bombshell. She casually told me that the next night she was going on a date with a colleague from work. Damaris and I had married young, barely out of our teens. Our relationship had been fast-paced. Less than a year after we met, she was pregnant with our first child. We were madly in love, and, despite all obstacles, we tied the knot. 7 months later, our daughter Avelini was born. Our marriage always seemed to be built on love, and with the addition of our 2 wonderful daughters, who adored us both, I believed we had created something solid. I had worked relentlessly to grow my landscaping business from the ground up, turning it into a multi-million-dollar company that allowed us to live comfortably and enviably. I never could have imagined Damaris would say something like this. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I sat there stunned, holding a glass of scotch, as she explained that she had been feeling depressed and unhappy ever since the girls left for university. To me, our life had seemed nearly perfect, so hearing her confession felt like a deep betrayal. She admitted that Benton, a colleague from accounting, had been someone she confided in during her struggles, a revelation I had never expected. Damaris had never mentioned being unhappy, let alone depressed. It stung to think that she had turned to another man to share her feelings. But the part that really cut me to the core was learning she wanted to go out with him. That was beyond what I could accept. To make it worse, Benton wasn't just any colleague. He was a married man with 3 young daughters, acting like some fake therapist while taking advantage of vulnerable married women. He targeted those who felt disconnected, knowing they were easy to manipulate. Damaris's voice was cold and unapologetic as she said, "Corbin, I had to tell you the truth. I can't hide this anymore. I need to do this for myself. It might sound selfish," she continued, "but I need one night to see where it goes." I was furious inside, every part of me wanting to explode. But I knew Damaris too well. Once her mind was made up, there was no point in trying to change it. I stared at her without speaking while she nervously fidgeted on the couch. The silence between us was suffocating. I finished my drink, stood up, and walked out without a word. She followed me, still pleading, "Corbin, don't ignore me. Stop sulking. This is happening, and I needed to tell you before it did. I'd never cheat on you behind your back," she added. I had to be honest. We've always been truthful with each other. I turned to face her, and whatever she saw in my expression made her pull back, curling up on the couch. Without saying anything, I went to our bedroom, packed a bag with a few clothes and toiletries, and left. As I walked toward the garage, she trailed behind me, still begging, "Please, Corbin, don't go. It's just one night, one date after 20 years. Surely you can give me that." I shook my head in disbelief, got into my car, and drove away. That night, I checked into the Ritz-Carlton. At $100 a night, it wasn't cheap, but I figured if I had to suffer, I might as well do it in comfort. Damaris's calls and texts started pouring in, but I sent her one brief response, betrayal, before blocking her number. I told her I wouldn't be in contact until I returned on Saturday. This was her betrayal, and now it was her problem to deal with. The next day, I went to work and made sure my secretary blocked any calls from Damaris. I also alerted security not to let her in. My plan was in motion, and there was no way I was going to let her derail it. For years, I've been known as reliable, someone who followed through, whether at work or with friends. At home, I'd always been the easygoing husband, keeping my temper in check. I thought treating Damaris like royalty was the key to a happy marriage. But now, looking at the wreckage of our life, I realized I had been wrong. I remembered an old saying that used to make me laugh, "Treat her like a queen, and she'll treat you like a servant." Those words now felt like a cruel prophecy. I wasn't ready to accept this as my new reality. That morning, I called my brother, a detective in Miami, and laid out the situation. I asked for his help, and he quickly contacted Trenton Merrick, a private investigator. "Trenton," my brother said, "I need a favor. Follow my wife tonight and gather everything on this guy by Saturday morning. We need his address, phone number, and any photos of them together." Trenton agreed right away. By the time Damaris and Benton sat down for dinner that night, I had already set my next move into motion. I planned to visit Benton's wife and tell her exactly what her husband had been up to and with whom. Before that, I made another call to an old friend, Harlan. Harlan had been through a tough divorce and had a rather unconventional way of coping. He used an escort service for companionship. While I'd never considered it before, his logic seemed oddly relatable now. "It's simpler and cheaper than dealing with an unfaithful wife," Harlan had said. I reached out to the service and arranged a night with an attractive blonde. I even added a $1,000 tip, asking for a girlfriend experience, in which she'd act as if she were a loving, long-term partner. It wasn't the plan I'd ever expected to follow, but given the situation, I was willing to play the game on my terms. I made it clear that discretion was crucial. If Damaris showed up unexpectedly, the escort was to act like we'd just met that night. In my mind, if Damaris could go out with another man, she needed to be prepared to see me doing the same, though I intended to handle it with a bit more class. The plan was simple: meet at a hotel, enjoy some drinks, engage in light, easy conversation before the night went on. Meanwhile, Damaris was busy running her real estate business, hosting an open house that Saturday, just like any other weekend. She never came home before 6 p.m., and this weekend would be no different. Rewind to Thursday night, after Damaris had announced her plans for independence. She sat alone on the couch, seething with anger, muttering to herself, "I can't believe he acted like such a child," storming out without saying a word. What a jerk. Frustrated by my silence, she kept calling and texting, growing more agitated as the hours passed. The only response she received was that one word, betrayal. That word made her pause for a moment, a brief flicker of guilt, before she quickly brushed it aside, convincing herself that her evening with Benton was just harmless fun, not an affair. It's just one night of fun, she thought. Corbin will get over it. Tomorrow, I'll make it up to him. He can never stay mad at me. I know just how to win him back. When Friday night came, Damaris returned to an empty house. She briefly considered canceling her plans, maybe calling me to come back, but the temptation of a thrilling night out was too strong. She decided to move forward. After a long, relaxing bath, she shaved her legs and treated herself to her favorite scented lotion. Sitting at her vanity, she applied her makeup carefully, transforming herself into a vision of sultry elegance. She admired her reflection as she styled her long hair. Next, she pulled out a brand new, daring dress. She smiled as she removed the tags, pairing it with stockings and a garter belt she'd bought earlier that day, items she'd never considered wearing for. Adjusting the garter clips, she hesitated for a moment, a faint sense of guilt washing over her as she remembered the time I bought her lingerie on Valentine's Day, something she'd rejected, accusing me of seeing her as an easy woman. Now here she was, slipping into provocative clothes, but not for her husband. The guilt flickered again but was quickly pushed aside. This is for me, she told herself, rationalizing away any remaining unease. Once dressed, she stood in front of the full-length mirror, admiring herself in sheer stockings and heels. The silk dress hugged her body, her chest pressing against the fabric in a way she knew would catch attention. God, I look like a little girl, she thought, half smiling. But this is going to be so much fun. I can't wait to see Benton's face. She convinced herself this was just a simple evening of dinner, drinks, and dancing, nothing more. But deep down her desire surged, consuming her thoughts. Despite my behavior, which she saw as overdramatic, she was determined to enjoy the night. She was sure I'd forgive her, as I always did, and allow her this indulgence. After all, haven't I always let her have her way? Just as she was about to leave, my phone call came. It was my last-ditch effort to save our marriage and stop Damaris from making a huge mistake. Swallowing my pride, I dialed her number, ready to beg, even if it meant humiliating myself. The thought of saving our relationship outweighed everything else. When Damaris saw Corbin pop up on her phone, she felt a pang of guilt mixed with irritation. Part of her wanted to hear my voice. She picked up, forcing herself to sound cheerful. "Corbin, thank you for calling. I miss you so much and love you more than anything. When are you coming home, baby?" My voice was thick with emotion. "Damaris, I love you too, and that's why I'm calling. My heart is breaking over what you're planning. I'm begging you, don't do this. Please stay home. I'll come back and we can fix whatever's wrong. I'll be whatever you need me to be. Just tell me what you want, and I'll make it happen. Please cancel this date. Don't throw everything away." Hearing the tremor in my voice, Damaris felt a flicker of pity but also a rush of power. My vulnerability reminded her of how deeply I loved her and how much control she had. She knew I would forgive her no matter what. "Corbin," she said softly, "I love you so much, and I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you. But I need to do this tonight. It's not about us. It's about me. Just one night to be impulsive, to do something for myself. You're overthinking this. It's just dinner and a few drinks with a friend. Nothing will happen. Tomorrow, I'll come home, and everything will be back to normal. Please understand and let me have this chance." My voice cracked as I tried once more. "Damaris, please. I'm begging you." But she steeled herself, her resolve firm. "I love you, Corbin, but I have to go." She ended the call quickly, her hand trembling slightly as tears welled in her eyes. She wiped them away, determined not to ruin her makeup, and whispered, "He'll forgive me. He always does." Meanwhile, I sat on the edge of the bed in my hotel room, staring at my phone with simmering rage. The call with Damaris had left me more distraught than ever, my heart in pieces. Across the street from our home, Trenton, the private investigator, sat in his white van, discreetly parked. Around 5 p.m., he saw Damaris arrive and park in the driveway. An hour later, another car pulled in. Trenton quickly noted the license plate, made a few calls, and within minutes had gathered all the details. By the time Damaris and Benton left the house, my brother, Reginald, and I already had Benton's address, phone number, and background information. Inside Damaris's house, Benton immediately sensed her conflicted emotions. She was nervous, guilty, and uncertain. Benton, experienced in handling hesitant women, wasted no time using his manipulative charm. "Damaris, it's okay," he said softly, his voice full of understanding. "We don't have to go through with this. I understand if you're feeling unsure. Your husband's just trying to protect you from guys like me. He sighed for effect. If only he knew how much I respect and care about you as a friend. Sensing her uncertainty, Benton pressed further. How about we just grab dinner? Nothing more. Just two friends sharing a meal. I'll drop you off afterward. No pressure. His words melted her resistance. She convinced herself it was just dinner, nothing inappropriate. And, after all, she'd already dressed up. By 7 p.m., they were on their way to a trendy downtown restaurant. Trenton followed them, documenting every. His updates were sent to Reginald and me in real time. Over the next 4 hours, Trenton captured everything. Photos of Damaris and Benton holding hands as they entered a dance club. Videos of them dancing closely, kissing. Even Benton's hands exploring her body as they swayed together. Benton's touches grew bolder, lingering on her backside, brushing against her chest, venturing into more intimate places. By sunrise, Trenton had sent a full dossier of evidence. At exactly 8 p.m., I picked up my phone and called Emmett, a man I'd once considered a close friend. Emmett, he answered, sounding cheerful. I don't know. Emmett, I replied, bracing myself. Your daughter is out on a date with a coworker. I thought our marriage was solid, but she told me she needed something more. I just wanted you to know, because I respect you and Loria, but I can't forgive this. She's breached our prenup, and as far as I'm concerned, our marriage is over. Emmett sounded stunned. Are you sure, Corbin? This doesn't sound like Damaris. I'm certain, I said. I've hired an investigator who's watching right now. I've seen the photos and videos. She's betrayed me, our marriage, and our kids. I wanted you to hear it from me. I'm so sorry, Corbin. Please don't act rashly. Maybe there's still a chance. I'm done, I said. I'm sorry. I'll call you later. I ended the call, feeling a mix of sadness and relief, knowing I had taken a step toward closure. With Benton's address in hand, I drove 20 minutes to confront his wife. When Maribel answered the door, she was dressed in tight jeans and a lacy top that accentuated her curves. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. Are you Mrs. Flanagan? I asked, my voice steady. Yes, she responded, puzzled. Is everything okay? May I come in for a moment? I asked. Inside, I delivered the heartbreaking news. Your husband is on a date with my wife. I have photos and videos to prove it. Maribel's face went pale. Are you certain? My Benton always stays late at the office on Fridays. I wouldn't be here if I weren't certain, I said grimly. My investigator is documenting everything as we speak. I thought you deserved to know. Leaving Maribel in tears, I headed back to my hotel. I tried to relax, sipping a specialty coffee. Peace was impossible. I opened the investigator's files. Photos of Damaris kissing Benton, letting his hands roam her body. The stockings she wore, the same ones I bought her months ago, which she rejected, felt like the final blow. The betrayal was unbearable. I shouted into the empty room, you're going to pay for this. By Saturday afternoon, I was ready to carry out my personal plan. I met Serafina, a stunning young woman I'd arranged through the service, and spent 2 hours with her. She was everything I'd requested, attentive, warm, playing her role perfectly. We returned to the house just after 4 p.m. By 5, Serafina and I were in bed together. Before joining her, I placed a note for Damaris on the front door. Damaris, last night you broke the sacred bond of our marriage vows and shattered my heart. By doing so, you voided our marriage contract. Legally, we are still married, but our relationship is over. I will be taking the master bedroom. Your belongings have been moved to the guest room. You wanted freedom, and now you have it. Love, your ex-husband, Corbin. Beneath the note, I placed my wedding ring. Using one of my collector's knives, I slashed through the letter and the ring before stabbing the knife into the. It was the first thing Damaris would see when she came home. When Damaris returned at 6:10 p.m., the knife lodged in the door stopped her in her tracks. The chilling image filled her with dread. She slowly approached, scanning for anything else out of place. As she neared, her eyes fell on the note and the ruined ring. Hands trembling, tears fell as she clutched them. She stumbled inside, calling desperately for me. Her sobs echoed through the dark hallway. Hearing muffled sounds upstairs, she followed them, pressing her ear to the door. The noises became unmistakable. Swinging the door open, she saw Serafina tangled in the sheets with me. Damaris stood frozen, stunned. Finally, fury overtook her. She screamed, "How could you, you bastard?" before running out and driving to her sister Loria's home. Once there, Damaris broke down, telling Loria everything. I caught Corbin in bed with another woman. I don't know where else to go, she sobbed. Loria listened sympathetically, though taken aback. Corbin has always been devoted to you. Are you sure there's more to this? Did something happen to set him off? Through her tears, Damaris admitted, I went on a date last night. Just dinner and a little dancing, that's all. Loria's face hardened. You left your husband home alone, while you dined and danced with another man? Are you serious? Damaris tried to explain, but Loria shook her head. You jeopardized your marriage because of selfishness. I'll call Corbin and see if he'll talk, but don't expect miracles. That night, Damaris cried herself to sleep in Loria's guest room, barely closing her eyes. The next morning, Loria texted me, asking me to call. I returned her call promptly. How's it going? I greeted. I know you're furious, and I don't blame you, but Damaris is devastated. Maybe you two should talk. I chuckled bitterly. She can come back and talk, sure, but don't expect me to forgive easily. Right now, I hate her as much as I once loved her. Moria sighed. I understand. Just be patient. She agreed to tell Damaris. That Sunday afternoon, I returned home from the gym to find Damaris at the kitchen table, trying to appear composed. We're not getting divorced, she said with a forced smile. We can work through this because we love each other. I poured coffee and sat across from her in silence. After a few sips, I spoke. Damaris, I've made peace with whatever happens, divorce or not. You broke the trust in our marriage, and I can't see us as a couple anymore. You won't be in my bed again. Damaris's face crumpled. Nothing happened with Benton. He's not my boyfriend. You went out with another man, I said. You dressed up for him, had dinner, danced, let him touch you, and kissed him. That ended our marriage. I'll win you back, she begged. I promise I'll make it up to you. I shook my head. Counseling is your last chance. If you go, I might stick around. If not, we can live as housemates where you can file for divorce. Over the next 3 months, we attended therapy with Dr. Fairchild. The process was grueling. I was forced to relive Damaris's betrayal repeatedly, and she struggled to face the pain she'd caused. Although she complained about my revenge, I reminded her, you broke our prenup. You forfeited your rights. Eventually, we reached an agreement. Damaris signed a post-nuptial contract forfeiting everything if she ever had another affair. She also granted me access to her phone, email, and text messages, and agreed to wear a GPS tracker. Humiliating, but she accepted it as penance. Despite her efforts, I couldn't shake Maribel's words. Once a cheater, always a cheater. Though life slowly returned to normal, I kept a watchful eye on Damaris. Her sister Loria even helped ensure she stayed on track. As for Benton, his life crumbled. Maribel divorced him, taking the house and securing alimony and child support for the 3 children. Benton moved into a tiny studio, a shadow of the man he'd once been. What a soul, I sobbed bitterly. Damaris, mortified by Benton's history, realized how close she'd come to destroying her own family. The consequences were a sobering reminder of betrayal's cost. She vowed never to make the same mistake again, though she could never erase the damage she had done. 2 years later, I still carried the scars of Damaris's betrayal. Not one scar on my heart came from an enemy, I reflected bitterly. They all came from people who said they loved me. Thursday evening, after 20 years of marriage, my 41-year-old wife, Damaris, stunned me. She'd arranged a date with a work colleague. We'd married barely out of our teens, tied together by a whirlwind romance and 2 daughters, Avelini and Ophelia. I'd built a thriving landscaping business so we could live comfortably. Yet Damaris confessed she'd felt empty and depressed since the girls left for university. Worse, she confided in Benton, a married accountant known for preying on vulnerable women, and now wanted one night with him. For Tom, unapologetic revelation hit me like a punch. I grabbed my scotch, wordless, and walked out, checked into the Ritz-Carlton, blocked her calls, and tasked my brother's PI, Trenton, to follow her. Simultaneously, I booked an escort, Serafina, to mirror her outing. If she could pursue her desires, so could I. Friday night, Damaris dressed in provocative lingerie, convinced herself it was harmless fun, and left. I called her one last time, my voice breaking as I begged her to stay, but she insisted. I love you, Corbin, but I need this. Meanwhile, Trenton documented every moment, hand-holding, dancing, kissing, evidence I'd later show to Benton's wife, Maribel, shattering his life too. By Saturday afternoon, I arrived home with Serafina. On the front door, I left a blood-red note. Our marriage vows were void. She could keep the guest room, and I slashed my wedding ring into the wood. Inside, I found them in bed. Damaris's scream, "How could you?" echoed as she fled to her sister's house. Over the next months, we lived as housemates. Separate beds, no mornings together, only civil practicality. Damaris lost a foundation for women's mental health. I expanded my business internationally. Milestones passed. Our daughters' graduations, awards, conferences, marked by mutual silence and polite nods. On our 22nd anniversary, rifling through old letters, I rediscovered my grandmother's wisdom. Love blooms, withers, then must be transplanted. That evening, over dinner, I proposed we end this limbo. Damaris quietly agreed. With a mediator, we divided assets, debated custody of Myrtle the cat, and finalized our separation. 2 days later, we met at our first date coffee shop. In a way, we're celebrating, I told her. We toasted endings and new beginnings beneath a cerulean sky. When I collected my last things from our empty house, I poured one final scotch, whispered, "To better days," and closed the door on a marriage that taught me betrayal's bitter cost, and, ultimately, my freedom.